Brandon Benefield, Gerard Bonner, and Diana Michelle.
What's going on, everybody? It's that time of the week. It's Friday. You know what that means. It's time for your favorite podcast, the SHW podcast. This right here, this is our wrestling. I'm B-double Brandon Benefield, GB Gerard Bonner, the lovely Diana Michelle. We are V3, and we're back, and we're 1 week away from SHW63. So, of course, tonight we are going to preview that big show. We've got a big old card lined up. But before we do that, we did take last week off. We were celebrating a few things. We had a big birthday. Yeah. GB Jr., or Jax, as he's known, had his big birthday. Yesterday was Jake the Snake Roberts' birthday, so a big shout out to our matchmaker. But GB, what was it you guys did? I know my sister went to this place before. It was the was it Great Wolf
Lodge? Yes, Great Wolf Lodge.
How was that?
It was pretty eventful for sure. So they have kind of the dry portion where you get to play a lot of games and things like that, almost like a Chuck E. Cheese kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
Then there's an entire indoor water park that happens as well. And then there's an outdoor part as well. So, you know, for Jax, who is as big of a water baby as there's ever been, he literally went from like 11 till about 5 or 6 in water. Ran the whole time. It was fun. It was fun. We did bowling.
Did you need a nap about lunch?
Oh no. Oh no. We went all the way through, and it was eventful, and he had a blast.
Slept good that night, I bet.
Oh, he did. Once we finally got back home, he finally got.
How about you?
Oh, yeah. I needed some sleep.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's great.
Diana?
Had a good birthday.
Diana,
I didn't get to go to Great Wolf Lodge. I thought it sounds like it was a fun time to be had.
Oh, it was.
I feel like I haven't seen y'all in months. Why?
It does feel like that.
We took 1 week off, and
that's what 1 week will do.
You know,
yeah.
Well, summertime, school's out, the kids are out of school down, so like I feel like that makes the adults' lives a little more. For me, no, because I don't have the kids, but you guys, I'm sure, experience this whole like. What you got to do something for the kids.
It's a whole new thing, and it does throw like your normal routine off. So we try to figure it out, but it's all good. It's all good. There's plenty of wrestling to go around. That's
plenty. Oh my gosh, there's so much wrestling,
which is probably why it also feels like it's been so long, because there've been so many monumental things that have been happening in the wrestling world. So.
Whether they're like big shows over the last couple of weekends, or there's people showing up where they're not supposed to be showing up, and you're like, what?
It's wild. I mean, it's a wild time for sure. So
it's crazy, and the craziness will continue into next Friday, as we mentioned. SHW63. I can't believe we're at 63 shows. That's insane. And not only that, but we found out over the last couple of weeks that we will be taking July off. So that means that the very next show is the Rumblejack in August. Okay, so this is the final stop. Next Friday, the final stop before the Rumblejack, which means Rumblejack qualifier matches.
That's what it means.
So we've got a handful of those coming up on the card next Friday. Let's talk about a couple of these guys. We've got the returning Fry Daddy taking on CT Keys in a Rumblejack qualifier. Speaking of birthdays, Fry Daddy just had a birthday. Was it last week, I think? And so he's returning. I cannot honestly tell you. I know he's been in SHW a time or two, but it has been a minute for sure.
It's been since my first in-ring debut.
Well, there you go.
Really?
He was one of my first matches. I had Owen and Barry, and then I had David and Fry.
Wow.
There you go.
I thought he might have come one other time since then.
I don't remember him coming unless it was a day I wasn't there. But I remember that.
Was it a Rumblejack appearance, perhaps? I'm not sure.
Maybe. I don't know. Well,
either way.
It's been a minute.
He's taking on CT Keys for an opportunity in the 6th annual Rumblejack match. And as good as Fry Daddy is, he's going to have his work cut out for him here, because CT Keys, who we kind of consider the muscle of the end game, and the end game's already full of guys that are big and bad. So when you're like the muscle of those guys, you're one bad dude. And CT Keys And he's probably kind of angry right now because he's coming off of a singles loss against Gunnar Miller a couple of shows ago, and then coming off of a loss at the War Chamber match this past month. So, he's kind of probably in his head a little bit and really wanting to get back on the winning track and also qualify for the Rumble Jack here. So what are we thinking about this matchup?
I wouldn't. Fry is nobody I would want to shake a stick at. You know what I mean? I'm not going to write him off at all just because CT's being bad and mad. Fry's got a lot to come. He's got a lot to bring. It's been a minute since I've actually been at a show with him or watched him, but I'm watching online his Wrestle America stuff and everything. So I'm keeping up with him, but he's always. He's a good brother. He's an original good brother. So
yeah.
This is going to be a fight. He's not going to just come in and be like, oh, I'm just going to be a whooping boy for CT Keys. It's going to be a fight for sure. It's going to be a fight.
Yeah, and I want to remind, because I get the feeling that we might have some new fans who may not have experienced a Rumble Jack before, but the Rumble Jack itself is a very, very special event that kind of really leads us onto the road to Still Here 5. The match itself has sprinkles and elements of a battle royal or maybe a Royal Rumble kind of thing. And there could be an amazing number of people involved. We've seen 30, 31, 35 involved. But what happens is when it gets down to the final two, it then becomes a lumberjack match where everyone else who was in the match surrounds the ring. And then the only way to win is by pinfall or submission. And the winner generally gets a shot at the SHW championship. So that's why so many people are trying to be a part of this, because it's your opportunity to win the championship in the top promotion in the Southeast. So understanding that, this is why people come from far and near, people who we haven't seen in a long time, because it's their one shot to kind of get a rocket all the way to the top. Enter Fry Daddy, who, again, we haven't seen him in this space in a while. And you know what happens when there are people we haven't seen in a while? Usually they go away, they garner a lot of experience, and they bring that back, and they become much tougher than the version of them that we saw previously. And I imagine that's what Fry Daddy's going to do. The problem here is CT Keys is never in a good mood. Lots of reasons not to be in a good mood. Plus, one of the big things that the end game does is protect their champion. And of course, Judias is still the Southern Honor champion. So, obviously that could change, which we'll talk about that later. But as of right now, they are kind of serving as gatekeepers to stop you from getting an opportunity to get to Judias. So for Fry Daddy, who'd like to get to the Southern Honor Championship, to do that, you're going to have to go through CT Keys, which not very many people are able to do. And then if you do, you got to go through however many men or women who will be a part of this to get to that time. Yeah, it's not an easy road. Not an easy road. So hopefully Fry Daddy has counted up all of that cost. And the first stop is CT Keys next Friday. Good luck, sir.
Yeah. And
now,
kind of
is
on
this
that.
an either or? Is this an either or match? Like whoever wins is in the Rumble Jack?
That's a great question.
Yes.
Oh, it is. Oh,
in this case,
yeah.
So
all
we
the
have
more reason CT Keys is dangerous.
So we have three, I would call them three Rumble Jack qualifiers. Two of them are legitimate qualifiers where it's whoever wins goes on to the Rumble Jack. There is one match, we'll get to it in a minute, where it's Sal Renaro, Zach Buchanan. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but I want to get back to this next one. To your point, GB, talking about CT Keys trying to perhaps protect that SHW championship if Judias does make it to through this show and to the Rumble Jack. On that same note, Nick Halen from the end game will be in a qualifier match against the inaugural SHW champion, Kevin Ryan. You talk about people making their returns after we haven't seen him in a while. Kevin Ryan is one of those. Yes, he's been back a few times since he won the inaugural championship 5 years ago, but it has been a minute since we've seen him lately. But he'll be returning to take on Nick Halen from the end game, and the winner of that match will go on to be in the Rumble Jack. Your thoughts?
I think people forget that Kevin Ryan was the inaugural champion.
Yeah, they do.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And he's been doing work lately, y'all. Y'all been I've been catching up with him, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting. I mean, he's a high flyer. He likes to flip. He likes to do all this crazy moves and stuff. And I just don't know what to think or what to expect. I know, like you said, the end game is they got chips on their shoulder, whatever. But I mean, I don't see any of these matches just being like a pushover, easy win for them. They're going to have to work for it.
I am wondering, as you mentioned that, I mean, obviously there's a great story for both of them. Kevin Ryan, who has been back in SHW in a tag team capacity, coming back for an opportunity to remind people, because, think about it, as much as SHW has done, where SHW is in 2024 is different than October of 2018 when he won the SHW championship.
Right.
The title means more, the company means more, and he doesn't want to just be the answer to a trivia question, right? He wants to be able to say, this version of who I am can be on top of this version of SHW. The other side of this, and we've talked about, obviously, with CT Keys, with Nick Halen being a part of the end game, obviously wanting to protect Judais, but I'm just wondering, after what happened at War Games, how connected is the end game right now? And I'm wondering, for a guy like Nick Halen, who made such a big deal about being the wrestler of the year and then retiring AC Mac and holding championships everywhere else, you mean Nick Halen hasn't at least had eyes for the SHW championship? And you don't think Nick Halen is not just taking this moment as a, hey, let me protect Judais, but maybe this is my opportunity to be the guy to get my shot? Because being the background vocalist is one thing, but everybody wants to be the lead singer.
Yeah.
Especially when the person who submitted was Todd.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, you kind of beat me to the punch, GB, because I was sitting here thinking to myself that, the group, the end game, all those guys, it's a group full of egos.
Yes.
And so I was sitting here thinking, as we were discussing these guys, Nick Halen, CT Keys, if they were to win the Rumble Jack, do you think they're just is it gonna be a finger poke of doom moment and they're just gonna let Judais retain his title at Still Here or whenever they have the match?
I don't think so.
These guys, they've all got egos. They all want to be the guy.
I would say the group is all ego. So yeah, that's just the thought,
Yeah.
They're all ego. Yeah.
But yeah, your guess is as good as mine. We'll see what happens next week. They've got to at least get through next week to even make it to the Rumble Jack anyway. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Kevin Ryan, Nick Halen, CT Keys, Fry Daddy. Those are two big qualifier matches. Looking forward to those. Another one, kind of a semi-qualifier match, because in this case, Sal Renaro, due to his SHW contract, already has a spot in the Rumble Jack, but he's also going to be giving a newcomer, well, a young up-and-comer. He's not a newcomer because he actually debuted in last year's Rumble Jack, and since then, he's only had a handful of matches, but I'm talking about the youngest of the Buchanan family. That is Zach Buchanan. Will be returning next Friday, and if he can beat Sal Renaro, Zach Buchanan will go on to the Rumble Jack. So Sal kind of playing, as we mentioned in the past, kind of playing gatekeeper at this point for Zach Buchanan next week to see if Zach can make it. Now, Zach, he showed up last year. Nobody knew he was coming in the Rumble Jack, and he showed up and surprised a lot of people. Had a pretty good showing, and we all remember his brother, Ben, showed up in the Rumble Jack and eliminating Judais a few years ago, and then went on to have a nice little run in SHW before moving on to NXT and other places. But so the Buchanan family, and even Bull, we've seen Bull in the ring a time or two as of late. And of course, back in the day, everybody knows Bull Buchanan in the WWE. So Zach Buchanan, excited to see him back. Now, Sal Renaro, always a bit of a few screws loose, whatever you want to call it. coming off of a shockingly short defeat
Mhm.
to not only Gunnar Miller at the last show, but also Carly Bravo.
Mhm.
2 quick losses in a row. Where's his head at? We say that every month. Where's his head at? But then we also say, maybe I don't really want to be in his head. I don't really want to know where his
Mm-mm.
head's at. We'll
Mm-mm.
stay as far away from that as possible. So I don't know. It'd be an interesting time for Zach Buchanan here, to say the least. What do we think?
I'm excited to see Buchanan back. I want to
Yeah.
see how he's developed and in his short journey so far. I am interested really in seeing how he deals with the mind games, and maybe it's not really mind game, but it's just the mental stability.
It's just
Sal.
Sal's everyday life, but to everybody else,
Mhm.
it seems like it's mind
It's
games. Like what?
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a world. It's like he has a box around his head, and there's all kind of crazy flying around. It's like a whole
Mm-mm.
tornado. I don't really know, but I mean, it'd be interesting to see how Zach handles that. And is it Zach? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
can't even remember. I've got so
Yes.
much going on right here in front of me. It is Zach. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles that. I mean, I don't think he's a stranger to the craziness of Sal, but yeah, what kind of Sal are we getting this time?
That's the question, and I think Zach actually has a great opportunity. This perhaps could not have come at a better time. If this were any other time, if this were, maybe last year while Sal was a tag champion, probably not the ideal time to do that. But during this time where so much of Sal's life seems to be falling apart, and you know, I remember us prepping for the show last month, and none of us imagined Sal losing to Gunnar Miller in less than 2 minutes. Like
No.
none of us imagined that at all. And then getting a second loss as well in an impromptu match to Carly Bravo. So there have been just a series of losses for Sal Rinauro. It's the right time for Zach Buchanan to come in. It's the right time. Remember, you don't have to be 20 years better. You don't have to be 5 years better. You just need to be 3 seconds better. That's all. That's all it takes. Zach can do this. And if he does this, he gets entry once again into the Rumble Jack with an opportunity at the SHW Championship. So, Zach, if I'm you, what is the game plan? Just go full board. Don't try to, figure it out. This is not a game of checkers or chess. It's a game of just dish out everything. And who knows, it could just really wipe him out to a point where, Sal just, was sitting down for 4 seconds. It's all you need, right? 1 second too long and boom, you've got entry into the Rumble Jack. So, Zach, do your good work, sir.
We might have to do a little deep diving on some research here, because I don't know how many people, if any, other than Sal Rinauro, can say that they faced Bull Buchanan in singles competition, Ben Buchanan in singles competition, and now Zach Buchanan in singles competition. Sal might be the only one as of next Friday. I could be wrong there. We'll have to do some research. If you know, let us know in the comments. But
For sure.
there's not many people that can say they faced the entire Buchanan family. So
Absolutely.
interesting
Sal's
note
been
there.
around a while. He's
yeah.
crazy, but he is definitely legendary for sure.
Oh yeah.
He is. He's one of the favorite.
Hey, speaking of legendary, we have coming up, this isn't a match, but it has been promoted that we will see a War Chamber celebration from the Hierarchy. Now on the graphic, features Joe Black, Murder One, and the Kinway. I don't know what this is going to be. Perhaps we're going to find out what their thoughts are, what they have in mind next for them. Are they going to be gunning for the tag titles once again? Are they going to branch out individually and have their focus set on individual titles? Will they all three be looking to enter the Rumble Jack in August? I mean, I don't know. Another interesting note, and I don't know anything, but all I do know is that fans were very excited to see Chip Day join the Hierarchy in the War Chamber.
Right.
And then he was viciously attacked by the end game prior to the show and never made it to the War Chamber. I don't know if he'll be in attendance. If this is a Hierarchy celebration, he was wearing that jersey a couple of shows ago and seemed to be the newest member of the SHW incarnation. of the hierarchy. So will we see Chip Day? I don't know. I don't know what to make of this whole War Chamber celebration. I don't really know what to expect. So I do know when Joe Black gets on the mic, though, everybody's always listening. It's always something intriguing. So I'm excited for that. But what do we think?
We haven't had a good Joe Black promo in so long. It's not even funny. That needs to be something we have every month. And I'm going to have to hit him up on that. I need to hear from him. It's gospel when he speaks. It is. I do have a problem, though. I mean, where's Chip? I need to know.
Which is why I brought it up, because I knew Diana would have something to say.
I need to know.
I haven't even heard from Chip.
Yeah.
Like normally he's kind of active, and I haven't seen him on. So I wonder if that beatdown that was given to him that kept him away, has kept him damaged for quite some time. We don't know the extent of it, but this is it is interesting.
How do you have a hierarchy celebration without the members of the? I'm gonna find this out.
I mean, and well, to that question, I do say I don't know that Paul Walter Hauser will be in attendance. He could be. He could chug us all and show up.
He could.
He was part of the winning team. He was an honorary member of the hierarchy at the last show. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, it's SHW. What do we say every month? You never know who's going to show up.
Who's going to show up, or who's not going to show up? How about that?
Yeah,
or that too. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this much: for all that the hierarchy have dealt with, being robbed of their tag team titles, going through all sorts of crazy matches, infighting before they just finally got themselves together. This War Chamber, they deserve a celebration.
Yes,
they do. They deserve a celebration. They deserve a chill night. They deserve a night where they don't have to throw somebody against the cage and throw them against the door.
But that might be part of the celebration.
I was going to say.
Could be. I mean, that
we're talking about Dark City, we're talking about the hierarchy.
They could celebrate a little differently.
We're not just walking around two fingers saluting. We're busting hands and cracking skulls.
When they celebrate, I don't imagine them being, on the top of somebody's roof. I don't imagine them with $100 drinks.
They're not they're just not just handing out cupcakes. Although I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Come on, community cakes.
Listen,
come on now.
Just putting it out there, Joe.
I would not want to steal any of their cakes. I promise you.
That's true.
We don't want to do that. So I don't know what to expect. I'll also say this. Perhaps the most dangerous version of the hierarchy is a happy hierarchy. So I don't know what this means. I don't know what to expect, but just expect the unexpected next Friday night.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Brandon, you should bring cupcakes for the hierarchy and maybe they'll share.
That's not a bad idea. Now
that is not a bad idea.
I can get them a whole cake made.
A whole cake.
Do they like carrot cake?
I don't know.
If they don't, I do.
Oh, I was like, what does carrot cake have to do with anything? But now I get it. Okay. Well, here's the thing, though. If I bring a full-on cake, I feel like in professional wrestling.
Oh yeah, no.
It's never gonna go well.
It'll never be eaten.
Full cake, yeah. It's gonna end up on somebody. Somebody end up wearing it rather than
community
eating
cakes are best.
Yeah. So maybe community cupcakes. I'll think about it. We'll see. I'll have to talk to put us some feelers to the Dark City and see what they think. See what kind of cupcakes they like.
Please do.
As long as I get at least one. Did you say rum cakes?
Rum cakes.
Okay.
Well, that's not a bad idea either.
Especially if they have an off night. I guess it doesn't matter, right?
True.
Right?
True. Very true.
All right. Well, hey, on top of that, on top of those Rumblejack qualifiers, on top of a War Chamber celebration, we also have 3 huge championship matches. The JTS Legacy title will be on the line. The SHW Tag Team titles will be on the line. And the Southern Honor Championship will be on the line. So let's talk about these matches real quick. We've got the Jake the Snake Legacy Championship. And I'll go ahead and just put it out there because I don't know if Diana will even mention it or she's too disgusted to even bring it up. But we also on social media, Hunter James completely throwing the birthday boy, Jake the Snake, under the bus. No longer referring to the title as the Jake the Snake Legacy title. He wants to call it the Hollywood Hunter James Legacy Championship and is demanding that Diana announce him as such at the next show, which is complete, you know what? And I commented on there. I said, if anything, it looks like somebody's asking to be punched in the mouth by Diana Michelle, because that will be the last thing I imagine she would ever want to do.
And she
or
will
do.
it.
Yeah.
She will do it.
That is not a Hollywood Hunter James legacy title. That belt clearly says Jake the Snake.
Yeah,
it does.
It has snakeskin straps. I mean, the legacy is something that is passed down, not stolen with tricks and tactics. So to me, he's not even the rightful owner of that. He was not passed. It was not passed down to him. It wasn't earned, if you ask me. It is not ever going to be the Hollywood Hunter James legacy title. Not if I'm saying it. Now, if he wants to call somebody else and announce him, then go for it. Find another mic. It ain't happening here.
Yeah.
That's the Jake the Snake legacy title.
Well, that Jake the Snake legacy title will be defended in fatal four-way action next week at SHW63. And the other three competitors will be Kyle Matthews, Tyler Stevens, and our most recent guest here on the podcast, the Ugly Duckling, Rob Killjoy, who had quite a bit to say about this matchup. And he's ready and raring to go, it sounded like.
Which I went and downloaded their theme song after we talked about it last
Oh,
time.
nice.
It's good, right?
I mean, I hear it all the time when he's wrestling, but I didn't know it was on Spotify. So it's like
Diana's walking around her house doing the quack, quack.
Yeah.
I knew it. See? So how are we feeling, though? We got
cool.
Tyler Stevens will be kind of representing Action Wrestling. Now, one big note there is when this was announced at the last show, Matt Griffin said he's so confident that he's going out, he's taking vacation. He won't even be in the building, which thank goodness, right?
It must be a long vacation because he's currently in Rome, right?
I don't know, I guess, but see, that's
to
GB's point, though. If he's telling the truth, and when's the last time Griffin told the truth? So
Exactly.
I don't know what to expect. Well, that's
maybe
true.
He got his dates confused because he was, kicking it back.
But we got Stevens, we've got Killjoy, Kyle Matthews. I feel like Kyle Matthews. I'm shocked that it's been 5 years and he still has not held. He's held the tag titles, but he's not held a singles title in SHW, and so he's ready for that to happen. I would
love to see Kyle take home that title.
And how cool would it be for the two former technical excellence members to be to have held that title, the JTS title?
Absolutely. Here, Rob. Those are my. I'm gonna go either one. Either one of those, I'm good with. Totally. I do not want Hunter James walking out there with that title. But I don't want the ball walking out either. I don't want him walking out with it either.
I don't think you're alone. Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that thought, Diana. GB, what do we think?
Yeah, no, I will say this, legacy should be carried by legends. And so with that said, it definitely puts us in the mind of either Kyle Matthews or Rob Killjoy. Both of these guys have done incredible work. It is hard to believe that neither of them have held singles gold in SHW before. I think their time is now. I think Hunter James would love to be known as a killer of legends, but I'm not sure if this is going to be that moment. He is in an obvious disadvantage. The flip side, of course, is he does really well when there's not a disqualification issue or a count out issue. So there's no telling what the guiding light, Tristan Michaels, will do. I hope that everybody in that match is prepared for that. Because again, and this is what's interesting, he doesn't do a whole lot of pinfalls clean, he being the champion. So we'll see what happens. I think that Kyle Matthews and Rob Killjoy understand that title shots don't come around every day. And I think they're going to come in extremely prepared. Let's just hope they don't cancel each other out.
Now, I will say, just because I tend to do this, Exotic Youth, Hollywood Hunter James, whatever. The guy's talented. I will say that. The first time we saw him, was it when he filled in for Exotic Youth? Is that the first time he was at
I don't know if it was the very first time, but it was early on. Yeah.
I think he had popped into a Rumblejack prior.
Rumblejack or something. Yeah. Well, when he did the feeling for Exotic Youth. I mean, I knew right then that he was talented. That he was going to be one of the faves when it comes to talent. Okay, and when it comes to his ability in the ring, the way he's going about getting where he's wanting to go is what I'm not a fan of. Otherwise, I can deal with the jawing and the whatever, but just do it right. That's my problem. Just do it right.
Well, here's the thing, and to GB's point a couple of minutes ago, in this type of an environment, in a fatal four-way match where there is no disqualification and pretty much anything goes, he won't be able to get away with all those underhanded tactics because all the other guys will be allowed to do all those things too. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
he
but
could
would
try.
they? Would you see Kyle grab a chair? I mean, just out of the blue, grab a chair and crack somebody?
I think anybody in that situation with a title at stake, if they're pushed to that point, if they use it against me, I'll use it right back against them. If I know I'm not going to get DQ'd.
But would you do it before somebody did it to you though? That's what I'm saying.
That's true.
I don't know that Kyle would just ruthlessly go grab a chair and crack somebody in the head just to win
But I think knowing Hunter James, he'll push people to that point.
Of course he will.
That's what I'm saying. So
of course he will.
I like that this is no DQ because it allows the other guys to be able to do all the stuff that Hunter
levels the playing field,
always gets away with. So
right.
We'll see what happens.
The problem with that though is, and we've seen it whenever there are specialty matches, muscle memory takes over for people. So, for instance, in a submission match, people go for pinfalls because that's what they normally do. So because breaking the rules and doing these kinds of things aren't normal practices for Rob Killjoy or for Kyle Matthews, they would end up being in a reactionary kind of space, and it would take them a while before they go, oh yeah, I can use this chair and go after so-and-so. Tyler Stevens.
I'll remind him.
Yeah. Tyler Stevens,
Kyle,
I'm
grab
sure
the chair.
won't have a problem grabbing a chair or anything else that's not nailed down. Same for Hunter James. And I think the fact that you have two guys that can cancel each other out makes this even more interesting. So we'll see how this goes down. It's definitely feeling like must watch.
Oh, for sure.
For that Rob Killjoy, that he has been involved in quite a few duck rules match, which is like duck rules hardcore. So it might not be, might not be a problem for him.
This is true. In that case, Kyle Matthews might be the odd man out here and might have to Kyle, if you're listening,
just pin him.
If you're listening, start doing some practice some chair shots.
Grab the chair.
We'll see what happens with this one, as you mentioned, man, it's must watch. This whole card is gonna be must watch. You're definitely gonna want to join us next Friday. SHW63, 261 Marietta Road, Canton, Georgia, the Action Building. You're not gonna want to miss it. Tickets go on sale at the door starting at 5 o'clock. Doors open at 7. Bell time at 8. Kids 10 and under are free. And we still have 2 big old title matches to go. The SHW Tag Team Championship match. Now, here's the thing. We talked about this a few weeks ago on the recap show from SHW62, where after the Tag Team Championship match, Gary Lamb is in the ring. The grapplers have already left the ring. Unbeknownst to us, none of us knew that we would see the Exotic Youth. We thought they would be long gone. We didn't think we'd see anything out of them anymore, ever, in SHW. But lo and behold, here comes Pepper Bottom, here comes Zach Mosley. They attack our general manager, and to everyone's kind of befuddlement, the grapplers just kind of stood outside the ring and just kind of watched it happen. But lucky for Gary, Dave Stage and Cody Fluffman show up and run off Exotic Youth and kind of make the save there. And then all of a sudden the grapplers decide to get back in the ring and check on Gary. Still kind of very confusing. Not really sure where the grapplers are at with all that, or at least with Gary. It seems like they're good with each other, but not with Gary necessarily, even though he's grappler number 3. Anyways, it's all very confusing. But because Dave Stage and Cody Fluffman made the save for Gary, Gary went to Jake the Snake, and they decided to give Stage and Fluffman this as a reward, a championship opportunity. So there's your SHW tag title match. The grapplers versus Dave Stage. A very unlikely duo, if you ask me. Dave Stage and Cody Fluffman. However, both, I think, fan favorites. We've seen a lot more of Fluffman lately than we have of Stage. But I think Stage is one that people are excited that he's back. Fluffman, you know how Fluffman's reaction is every time he comes out.
Mhm.
So I think we know who the crowd's probably going to be behind in this one, but I don't know. I could be wrong. We'll see what happens next Friday. What do we think?
It's always a good night when the Fluffman's in the house. It is. People love him. I love him. He comes. I mean, who is more over right now than Cody Fluffman?
It's a good question.
I mean, honestly, who would have to come back to steal the thunder of Cody Fluffman? Because right now he's carrying it. He's taking all the glory. And Dave Stage, he had a good showing. Was it? I wasn't there the week, the month he was.
Oh yeah, because he's in a tag match.
Grayson.
That's right.
Right. So it's like, where'd he come from? But yeah, I mean, he's always been, a force. He's always been a force. So I mean, this is going to be interesting to see them tagging together. The grapplers, I think, when people don't know who you are, unless you're Rey Mysterio, people don't really know what your face is like. They don't really know who they're cheering for. And it was really confusing when Gary came out as a grappler because nobody knew who it was until he took his mask off. When the grapplers won the title the first time when it was Exotic Youth, nobody knew until they took the mask off. So they didn't really know. I think there's a lot of confusion there.
Yeah.
People really don't know how to feel about the grapplers as of late. But I mean, it's going to be a fun, I think, interesting match. I don't really know what to expect, but I never do. So.
Yep.
I think there's trouble in the camp.
I believe you're right.
I think there's trouble in the camp. And that camp, of course, being the camp of the tag team champions, the grapplers, who went from, in one fell swoop, who are the tag team champions? We're the rightful champions. They win the titles, but there's an interesting connection between Gary Lamb and the grapplers. And I want to say this very carefully. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's like when you were in high school and, if you were in the audience in a basketball game and there was a pass that was thrown out and you caught it and you threw it back to a person on the court and that person made the game-winning shot, now suddenly you feel like you're part of the team.
Right.
It's giving those kinds of vibes. And here's what's funny. And, if y'all don't see me later this year, it's probably for this very comment. And that is Gary Lamb has gone on record by saying he doesn't really watch wrestling, doesn't really like wrestling, but it became very clear on the night that he went to help the grapplers regain the championship that he was living out one of his fantasies, one of his childhood dreams, to be in a ring and to hold a championship. And so now, if you'll notice, and I got to go back and watch it. Maybe you guys can go back and watch it. I remember living this. When we were doing commentary at the last show, we were joined by Gary Lamb, which at one point he said he'd never do commentary again. But what was more alarming to me is that he brought the tag team titles with him to the commentary desk, both of them. Now, normally they're around the waist of the champions. They end up, on the timekeeper's table with you, Diana. And so when they won the match, there was nobody who could grab the titles and give it to him. So he had to leave and go and didn't want to unhand and loose those tag titles. Right. He has a very interesting connection to the tag team championship. And it's starting to look like it could be unhealthy. Now, I'm sure he'll probably say something about this next Friday and, want to debunk this. But he can debunk this by perhaps allowing the grapplers to be the tag champions and fight this match on their own.
Right.
But we'll see what happens. With that said, this could be the right time for Dave Stage and Cody Fluffman. Though when you were mentioning that, Diana, I was reminded that there is another thing that Cody Fluffman and Dave Stage have in common. And it's not just coming to save Gary Lamb. They have a very interesting thing in common. Alexander Lev and Lev's faithful.
That's a good point.
Remember, it was Grayson Pierce who initially teamed with Dave Stage. And it was at the end of that very match that Pierce turned on Stage to join Alexander Lev. Lev's faithful turned around and cost Cody Fluffman last month the Jake the Snake Legacy Championship. I don't know if they'll be anywhere around. Hopefully they won't. But whenever Lev's got something in common with somebody, he likes to show up. And he might still be mad, quite frankly, at Cody Fluffman for costing them the tag team titles last month. Oh, what a tangled web we weave.
Right.
And we have that tangled web in this tag title match. All very
intriguing.
There's a lot of moving parts.
And you mentioned we wonder if Lev and Lev's faithful will show up. I also wonder, will we see Exotic Youth again? We didn't think we'd ever see them again, and they showed up out of nowhere at the last show.
I never count them out. I always expect to see them pop their little heads up.
What exactly is there, no pun intended, their end game here? Are they strictly just trying to take Gary out and send him to the hospital? Are they coming back after
they always have a vendetta against Gary?
Well, I know that, but are they also are they eyeing the SHW tag titles again? Or I mean, are they even, if they wanted a match, would they even get a match in SHW? Or you know what I mean? Like,
I have a very interesting idea. Perhaps, Brandon, you should seek out a special interview with them.
No, that's not going to happen.
Come on. Oh,
I'm not that curious. I know I just said I'm curious, but now I'm like, I'm not that curious.
TV. I mean, the ratings would go through the roof.
Oh, Jesus. We can put you in a different room and everything.
That
you don't even
work.
have to be in the same room.
Yeah, I don't want to know that bad. I just changed my mind. I don't care anymore.
Got you.
Now that you mentioned that, I'm like, take it or leave it. I can leave it. That's fine. Yeah, if we did it Zoom, maybe we could do it Zoom style.
You would never get a word in.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to, but I couldn't be in the same room with those idiots.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. But yeah, not likely. I'll just put it that way. Not likely that will ever happen. But you put it out in the universe, so who knows?
Yeah,
we'll see.
We'll see.
But yes, you're right. A big, crazy, tangled web of a match that we have for the SHW tag titles next Friday. But that leads us to the big main event and the Southern Honor Championship. Judas will be defending against the former champion, the man who he defeated for that very title, and the man who has not had a rematch for that title. Talking about the People's Captain Gunnar Miller. Gunnar Miller, was it just over a year ago at this point?
Yeah.
A little over a year ago, where Todd Sexton came in, the initial referee. Maybe a couple of referees had been taken out. Todd Sexton runs in as a backstage official, throws on a referee shirt. Now, this is pre-endgame, okay? So the endgame hadn't been formed yet. This was actually the night that they formed, basically. So we're thinking Gunnar Miller has the match 1, 2. Todd does not count the 3 count. And then we all realize, wait a second, what's going on here? Hey, what is going on here? And now everything's like it is. Judas is the champion. The end game has been running wild for the past year. And at the end of Gunnar's match at the last show, we talked about earlier, he defeated Sal Renaro in record time, seemingly. He got on the microphone right after that and said, you know what? It's about time I get my rematch. Got on the horn with the Snake Man. And I've got my title match here coming up next Friday, SHW63, Gunnar Miller against Judas. Here's the thing. If I knew for a fact the end game was banned from ringside or banned from the building and it was just going to be solely a one-on-one matchup, I'd feel pretty good about Gunnar Miller regaining that championship that he lost so unfairly just over a year ago. However, I have not heard or seen or been told anything about the end game being banned from the building. And so if it's anything like usual, then Judas will have his back up there and they'll be running shenanigans on the outside. And I don't feel too good about Gunnar Miller in this matchup.
No,
That's
not
not
at
to
all.
say he's not capable. He's fully capable, and I hope he does win it. But it's the numbers game. It's always the numbers game when it comes to the end game. So what do we think?
But Gunnar's got his focus. I really feel like he's got his focus on this one, and he knows what he wants. He's been eyeing it. He's made it known. It's pretty clear what he's wanting to do right now, and I really think this is going to be. It's going to be a shock. Very possibly. Very possibly.
So I want to remind us that it was May the 12th of 2023. That was the last night that Gunnar Miller held the SHW championship. That was the night, of course, when SHW changed for sure. We saw the formation of the end game. Cruel becomes the champion. To put it in context, it was SHW 50.
Judias.
I'm sorry.
Judias.
Sorry. Lord, I don't need any problems with him. SHW 50. We're going into SHW. By the way. Yeah, I didn't even realize I said it. That's what's so bad. We're going into SHW63 right now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been crazy. And as of next Friday, that will be day number 391 of the reign of Judias. So we're talking almost 400 days since Gunnar Miller has had a shot at this championship. That's a lot of time. It's a lot of energy. That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of pent-up frustration. He's got his focus back. Clearly, this looks like the Gunnar Miller of old, the one that we were all, very, very concerned about because he could rip through anybody. And the question is now, will he have that same level of intensity? I'm wondering, does he need to go after a quick win? Or does he need to try to, pace this thing out? I'm not really sure what the strategy should be on this because Judias has shown over these 300 and nearly 90 days that he can hang in almost any kind of match. We saw him in a coffin match or a casket match. We've seen him in multi-man matches. We've seen him in we saw him in the dog collar match. Like we've seen him in these scenarios that should have taken him out and they haven't. Is Gunnar Miller going to be ready to do what no one else has been able to do in close to 400 days and defeat Judias for the SHW championship right before we get to Rumblejack, no less?
Yeah.
Going to be interesting.
I say avoid the boot to the face at all costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he can do that, I think he's got a shot.
Oh, wait. No, I'm thinking the wrong thing. Carry on.
All right.
No, because I'm thinking the wrong year. Carry on. Yep.
Well, I was going to say back to your point about Judias being involved in all sorts of matches. Don't forget, even though it was a kind of a one and done, Gunnar Miller was involved in that crazy death match with Tank, where he ended up going toe to toe and coming out of that one. And so we'll see. I mean, I feel like he can up his game or get on the level of whoever he's going against if necessary.
Yeah.
But again, in my back to what I said earlier, it's going to be a numbers game. It's always a numbers game when it's the end game. And so that's my biggest concern for Gunnar Miller. Could he have some backup? Is there anybody in the SHW locker room that could even the sides a little bit? I mean, we thought with the hierarchy taking out the end game, maybe that would kind of knock a dent in their pride, knock a dent in their operation. Will it? I mean, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens at next week. Could in those Rumblejack qualifier matches, could CT lose? Could Nick Halen lose? If they do lose.
But if they lose, that's just going to make them madder.
I mean, that's true. I don't know.
Where are our friends Houdini when we need them? They say friends. How many of us have them? Ones you can depend on. That's what Gunnar Miller needs right now.
But
friends to show up for him.
I often refer back to him just being a football player. I mean, he's a star football player. And to me, football players are like gladiators. They're in this ring, this big dome, whatever, and everybody's coming at them when they're fighting off left and right. And that's pretty much the way he's having to take this. The end game's going to be coming at him. They have been coming at him at all angles, and he's been fighting them off left and right. And yes, he's had the opportunity to go through them one at a time. But I mean, this might be like the whole the big dog, which I guess it is because he's a champion going against Judas. He's going against the champion to win the championship, to be the champion. So,
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a lot of similarities there, and he's prepared. He's been through the fire. He's been through, the battle, and he's coming out. He's focused.
Yeah.
We can see it. We can see that he's focused, and we know what he wants. I have high hopes for this one. I really do.
I will say this though, it took all of the hierarchy to get past the end game.
Yeah.
And they only ended up pinning Todd Sexton. It's a different ball game trying to pin or submit Judas.
But where was everybody else when they were submitting Todd? Where was everybody? There was nobody to pull Murr off Todd. They were all laid out.
And that's because of the hierarchy. So
Right.
again, in other words, it took the hierarchy in their full power to do that. For one man to try to do that seems virtually impossible. So Gunner,
I feel like, here's the thing.
friends.
I feel like Gunner needs to be the one to buy cupcakes for the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Or somebody, absolutely.
Butter him up a little bit and be like,
Do
hey,
something.
you guys got me.
Hennessy or something.
There you go. You guys got my
Bars,
back.
I don't know what they need.
You got my back in the main event, maybe?
Yeah.
We're just spitballing here, just putting out some ideas, putting out some feelers.
Yeah.
Anyways, I do need to hit up the Dark City and see what kind of cupcakes they like. But anyways, I'll get on that.
Just something about the Dark City and cupcakes
I know.
don't seem to go together.
It makes no sense.
No. Maybe
Don't
crab
see them as the
cakes or
cupcakes
some
kind of
steaks.
crab cakes, yeah. The cupcakes.
I'll be like, Joe, look, I'll get cupcakes from me, and then whatever you guys want, and then it'll all
This
be
is
part
how
of the
I
celebration.
celebrate.
Yeah. I'm just trying. I can't see Joe going.
I don't. Yeah, you're right.
"Certainly,
You're right.
I'll have a cream brulee cupcake. I don't see
Bring
it.
me some
But
cheese.
You never know. You never know. But I think you're right. But you never know. Anyways, main event: Gunnar Miller, Judas. It's going to be one for the ages. You're not going to want to miss it. It's capping off another massive card. SHW63 next Friday, June 7th, in the Action Building, 261 Marietta Road, Canton, Georgia. As I mentioned, kids 10 and under, as always, are free. So spread the word. Invite all your friends. If you have friends that have yet to see SHW, what are you waiting for? I mean, bring them to a show. Bring them to a show. Like,
if you have friends that haven't seen them, why are you holding out? Why are you gatekeeping? Bring them.
spread the word,
Show
folks.
them what's up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a night for the whole family. Bring the family out. Tickets go on sale at the door starting at 5 p.m. Doors open at 7. Bell time is at 8. Now, front row and second row and all that stuff, it's first come, first serve. So we have people lining up usually around
At
lunchtime.
noon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're there, but when we get there, there's already a line going down the sidewalk. So
They've
it's
got their chairs, chilling.
So, if you want to get a front row, first couple rows, you got to get there early. But general admission's $15. Any seat in the house is a good seat. Trust me. So you're not going to
Even if you're standing, it's a great view.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And you just never know if it's something spills over the guardrail. I have a buddy who I work with. He brought his wife to one of the shows. I don't remember which show it was, but it was a little while back. And I think it was might have been Cruel, and somebody spilled out. And his wife is scarred to this day. In a good way. I shouldn't say it like in a bad way, but she was like,
that's a great way to invite him. She's
Could
scarred.
it be when Matt Griffin was like jumping over the rails?
It might have been. It might have been. But I mean, in the way where she she still talks about it. Like, I can't believe it. It was right next to me and it almost fell on me and blah, 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 you know. But it might have been. He might have been chasing Griffin out of the building or something like that. But you just never know. I mean, even if you think front rows where you're going to get all the action, they were sitting several rows back and almost got, run over by Matt Griffin and Cruel. So you just never know. You're going to be part of the show, folks. It's going to be awesome. You're not going to want to miss it. Next Friday, SHW63, the final stop on the road to the Rumblejack. And, of course, the Rumblejack coming up August 9th. Going to be one of our biggest shows of the year, as always. But this next week is shaping up to be one of the biggest ones of the year. Last month, the last show was one of the biggest ones of the year.
It's going to be hard when we start talking about show of the year.
You just never know.
Hard.
You just never know.
I got my new Tony picture.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes. Brand new.
Switched it out. I put my other one on my other wall. I just switch them out every now and then.
Yeah.
There you go.
I've got Corey and us.
Nice. Is that Carly?
Carly was
It
there
is.
last month. You know,
Yeah.
it's the game, the whole game.
All
You just
those
never
folks were
know.
there at the last show.
All of those
They
folks
were.
were there last
Yeah,
year.
Corey was there too.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I just love my wall.
Oh,
I just
man.
have to show my wall.
The Great Wall.
As you should.
The Great Wall of Diana.
I love my wall.
Oh, yes.
I love it. Well, folks, that's going to do it for this week's episode. But hey, join us next Friday when we bring you this show live from the Action Building from 7 to 7:30 as we bring the live SHW63 pre-show. And you
you
gotta
really
be there.
never know what's going to happen on the live pre-show.
Yeah, well,
Who's
we're
going to
live.
show up? What's going to be said? What's going to slip? You never know.
It
live.
always makes you a little nervous because some of the guys in the locker room are watching. So you got to be careful we got to be careful what we say because they'll walk right out and just get in our face.
Bring the drama out. Let's go.
Speaking of which, I mean, I know we already talked about Gunnar and Judias, but I'm just now thinking back. We talked about how the other members of the end game are going to be in a foul mood because they're coming off a loss in the War Chamber. We had gone off the air at the end of the show, and Judias still approached our table, came up to us, super angry. I mean, you could legit see the steam, like in cartoons, you see the steam coming out of the ears when they turn real red. It was like that. And he was right up in our grill. And we were already off the air. We'd already shut down the audio, and he still approached us and given us the business. And we're just like, whoa, man, whoa, relax. And of course, that's not going to work. It's Judias. Freaking monster.
He doesn't care if he's on the air. He's going to, yeah.
Nope,
so here's the thing. I was going to say I'm a little nervous to be back at ringside, but really being on the stage wasn't like we really got away from any of the craziness. In fact,
almost
it drew them
powerbomb through our table.
Yeah.
Like it's just massive.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But you did get the queen and the flower petals and all the glory. That's just one of the best moments ever.
That's the thing. We took some bad with the good though, so that's fine.
And there you have the facts of life.
And on that, let's wrap it up. We will see you guys next week live in the Action Building for SHW63. That's going to do it. And until we see you next week, this has been
SHW.
These are the facts of life. And this is our wrestling.